I've been really both impressed and heartened by how seriously Louise has embraced this regenerative paradigm. She's going to introduce one of Volans' clients, José Luis Blasco from Acciona. This is our attempt to, in a sense, show a real life case study of a real life big company trying to put this paradigm into practice in the real world competitive economy. What's intriguing is that it's an infrastructure company, and infrastructure obviously will be fundamental to the economic system of the future. I think of infrastructure and the investment, real investment in infrastructure in many ways as the bridge to the new economy. So with that, Louise, I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you, John. And Ernesto, thank you for having us and me. I'm really excited about this because it's been my huge privilege to work with José Luis Blasco as Global Director of Sustainability for Acciona for basically almost as long as I've known you, John Fullerton, sort of 3 years, to help translate regenerative principles really into practice so they could be adopted by a real life company. And that's been really exciting. And we haven't really talked much about it. So I think that this is sort of one of the first times where we're going to dig deep. And José Luis, thank you for being, there you are, for being willing to do this with me and to talk about this, because we're going to hopefully talk both about some of what you've done and also the challenges around that. I've promised to say a little bit about Acciona before I go over to you. So Acciona is one of the main companies on Spain's IBEX 35 index. So it sort of top of that index. It has a presence in more than 40 countries and more than 38,000 people across the world. So it's sort of not a small company and quite complex, because the business lines include construction, transport, water management, energy, manufacturing, some agriculture and forestry in there. So all the sort of infrastructure solutions really that you can think of. It's still primarily family owned, which we can talk about governance a little bit later, José Luis, but that I think is important to mention. And that Acciona has been this leader in sustainability for a long time. When I first came across the company, the tagline was still business as unusual, sort of in line with the Anita Roddick book many years ago. It's highly aligned to the SDGs, the European taxonomy, and so on. But really now is purpose is around investing in and developing infrastructure solutions for positive impact on people and planet. When we met, and I think it was again 2019, you asked Volans to create a program for sort of younger exponential leaders, we called them, in Acciona, to spend some months creating the next 5-year sustainability master plan. And in fact, what happened over those months, and it was painful, I think we can say it was painful at certain times, was that it became more than a sustainability plan, right? It became part of the strategic plan for the entire business to move from what we call a responsible business, sort of triple line focused, sustainable, to really embracing those regenerative practices and creating regenerative infrastructure and really thinking about how do you do that? How do you change the company? How do you change what you do? My first question is, so in this transformation at that stage, which again was, we did it on pandemic, right? So it was 2020, I guess, beginning of 2020, we did this. What were the concerns in your organization to make that leap from sustainability, the SDGs, taxonomy, to really saying, no, we're going to actually push ourselves to go into the regenerative space? Welcome.
Oh, thank you. To be honest, I'm very proud to be here, and thank you for inviting me. You can imagine, you have all the medals of the sustainability. You have the best sustainability Dow Jones. You all have all. And you need to have the challenge to define a new sustainability master plan for the next 5 years, when everybody wants to become sustainable companies. Our first thing was that if we are the most sustainable company in the electric utilities, blah, 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 in the world, there is a lot to do. This was our first okay, this is something that is not working well, or not to the enough speed that we need. The first empiric evidence that we had on the table at that time, and I think that today is still a challenge for us, it was that the inspiring journey that you and John give us in order to think about, first of all, responsibility, and then resilience, and then regeneration as a journey, inspire a lot for the perspective that we are a family-owned company, as you said. You have in your fundamentals this journey, but at the end of the day, the next step, how you can jump to the do no significant harm, it was our main focus. Do no significant harm, seeing that the nature is a risk, that the people is a risk. This is amazing that we see the community is a risk, the nature is a risk. No, guys, we are really confused at that time. The second problem that we had is that sustainability seems that it's a philosophy for corporates, or a corporate philosophy. But the sustainability only, or the sustainable phenomenon only can be developed at the local level, and was very contradictory. We have a huge, heavy architecture of governance and policies and blah, 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 and reports, but at the end of the day, disconnected to the reality of the projects that we are producing. We are looking for demonstrative projects, that some kind of we are looking for pilots, and sustainability is a lot of pilots, but we were perceived that we need to have a systemic change. How to change the view of okay, guys, you are very well, you are very good, and you are doing very well, to something that changed the company. And then lastly, the problem is that for us, that was the sustainability shift for a corporate cultural attribute to an evidence, to authenticity, to how you can make it live it by, not by the priest of the sustainability, but the company. It was the starting point. How we can change the way that we are doing sustainability. It was the concept, because we are wrong. It was not about regeneration. We need to change the way that we want to become more sustainable. And when we started with that, it was very simple. We need to make this different.
And I remember, also as quite brave, because I remember we gathered 30 odd people from across the globe, very few sustainability people actually. And I remember you saying, oh, the 5-year sustainability master plan. And a lot of them had not seen the existing one, right? So to say, okay, we're creating this new one, but how do we do it in a way that they all own it? And I guess that then led to it becoming more than a sustainability plan.
Yeah, I have some photos from that time. Let me share with you. And also, I have a surprise for you guys, because I have one of their master plans, their masterpieces. What these guys were capable to do after 2 years or 3 years. Okay, this is very, very important, because as you can see, English is my mother tongue, but I never met my mother. That is the problem, is that the language was also a problem in terms of we need to communicate from different cultures, from different countries, with different businesses, and they need to work together in a very, very new topic, that it was a little bit inspirable, not practical. And these guys come from the different businesses, and the process was very interesting, because the problem was that we were very, very committed that the regeneration was the real step, the next step, but nobody knows how to do it. And my first lesson was that don't worry about that. We are still struggling with what is regenerative or not, because the main thing for this group of people after 3 years or 2 years is that we know where we want to be. This is the very important. What is the vision? Where is the destiny? What is the where we want to be? Okay, and when you know where you want to go, you need a compass, and the compass could be a dynamic tool, because we have not fit for all tool. Okay, this is Teresa, one of the member of the groups. She's an architect. She's very talented, and his last project is this.
And where is that?
This is a 3 towers in Malaga. You can see you can see the city, and what is this? Probably you can find it's a promotion about 400 flats with 2 buildings of offices, and you can see that it is 0, 0, 0, 0 water consumption, 0 energy consumption, 0 waste production, integrated in the context with different regenerative measures. But this is a case study about fully thought by her after he said that the cities should change. Here, another girl, Elena, who is managing the efficiency services. Okay, she won the largest contract on efficiency for a city for 15 years, only introducing sustainability. The half of the contract is how to invest the efficiency savings into regeneration of the city. It was the secret.
Wow.
This is very simple. This is okay, what we are reducing the 84% of the energy consumption, but all this money we will invest in these things that we consider that is regenerating the city of Gijón. We want to change the way that the city is planned. This is the idea behind this. Okay, and this is okay, and this is another person who is Elvira, who has inaugurated this year the first hydrogen plant in Spain and the south of Europe, in order to connect the mobility of the city of Mallorca. I think that are examples that are probably we are not. It's another time to deliver examples again. But if you have people who is really bold in terms of how to go beyond their current job description, if you try to spark this inspiration in these guys, the beauty of the concept is that give you an extra value, an extra energy or power in order to go beyond the current boundaries of the company. It was the amazing movement that we are seeing. This is only a different example that I have collected today, but for sure every single guy in that group has their own story to tell.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing them. I haven't seen any of these before. So it's really nice to know that 3 years ago or 2 years ago when we did this, these things are coming through. And I want to get to sort of the role of infrastructure and place-based and context, because I know you want to talk about, we've talked about how important that is. But just before we go into that, I want to get really concrete about sort of challenges within corporates. And I remember you and I having a conversation around diversity and inclusion, for example, where we said, oh, it's sustainable to have equal gender distribution at a certain level. But so what does it mean to be regenerative? Well, that means that there has to be some infinite process that ensures that continues to happen. So it isn't just, right, the snapshot now is equality, but how do you do that? And I know that you thought very long and hard about how to address those types of things. And I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about that.
In the infrastructure business, you always listen the same excuse. They are not women engineers. This is very difficult to recruit women. And 4 years ago, we had a problem in Australia because the authority, the Australian Regional Authority, put up finding was very tough because some of our project has not enough women in the workforce, and they find our colleagues in Australia for that reason. But the problem was very interesting, because the problem was that we have not enough number of women, and we have a very short period of time in order to cover this. And they created to say, okay, what happens if we make project 50-50, 50 women and 50% men? Because we were in a hurry in order to make it more quickly. And the experience was amazingly successful. And let me show you that what we are doing at this time with this. This is the first program, the Loreto project in Australia. It was the problem, and this is the result. And then we started to develop only women projects, and we have projects only developed by women engineers, because the problem was the current problem is that we have not all the pyramid of jobs in our projects, and with this kind of project we cover all the pyramid. But the problems now is the topic now is that we have a competitive advantage on this. We win some projects with this characteristic. For example, you can see here in this part of the slides are my favorite, because I was in Sao Paulo a couple of weeks ago. We have part of the metro of Sao Paulo only developed by women, but they have not previous experience, and we need to make all the process with her. And it was very amazing how their lives changes and how they have developed this kind of experience as a very unique part of this metro. 70% are made by women. But this is a very interesting experience that we failed at the beginning. Then the diversity become an asset, and now we consider if I have to be honest, when I have problems to define what is a competitive advantage, I always propose, okay guys, why we can connect with the context about what is the people who can help more with this project. Because imagine that most of the infrastructure projects are the most important industrial activity in an area for 2 or for 3 years. They move a huge amount of people on resources. Imagine that only with, for example, the metro of Sao Paulo is a 2.2 billion project with 7,000 guys working at the same time. And this is not for us is a huge opportunity to connect the context of those projects with the real needs of the context, in order to connect the infrastructure with their beneficiaries. I can give you also an example that it was very tough for us. In January, we had an accident in the metro of Sao Paulo, in Línea 6. 26th of January, we produced a big hole in the highway in Sao Paulo, and we had a lot of problems. We react very quickly, but some guys were accusing that we are using women to make the line 6 of the metro, and it was guilty because they have no qualification to make it happen. We show that the same teams that we are working on the metro were react more quickly than ever during the last 5 lines of metro. Never any company has reacted. What was the reaction? Everybody wants to invest in the project. We were a roadshow, and we cover in only one day all the money that we need in order to invest in the last tranche of the investment that we were making the roadshow.
This idea of embracing emergence and a little bit of uncertainty and the process rather than the results has been interesting, right? Similar with the playbook we've just kind of delivered in terms of sort of a tool, I guess, for a compass for your business development team, right? On how to approach conversation. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how you see that playing out?
Yes, it was, but it is sometimes we see that we are kidnapped by the KPIs, to be honest. And this is very bad, because at the beginning, the virtue of the KPIs guide the people who is in teams. As you know, I was consultant during 15 years in KPMG, designing the strategic plans, blah, blah, blah. But my frustration was that it was very difficult to implement. It was very good PPTs, we were very good PowerPoints, but never has the ability to make the transformation. And when we were working together, I promised myself to try to change this dilemma. I believe on the balanced scorecard approach. What happened with the balanced scorecard approach? If you have a look to the methodology of Kaplan and Norton of the 90s, they discover, for me, a miracle, that if you have a clear idea about what is you trying to pretend to do, you have different approaches in order to achieve those goals. First of all, is that we wonder, what is regeneration? What does it mean? How we need to perform in order that Mr. Fullerton or Mr. Elkington or Mr. Pibor or Lucia should think that we are regenerative. It was our first approach. We were working during a year with your advice, and the people said 4 things. One was about put the people in the center, be planet positive, not be neutral. You need to be part of the movement and connect the business in order to make it more effective. And with this idea, we have the temptation to put a lot of KPIs. We change in the other way. We change what are the processes that we have in our company in order to change to drive this transformation. And we discovered that we have 4. How we contract, how we hire, how we finance, how we buy. And it was the secret of that. We were not defining KPIs for specific areas that are usually used in the sustainability field. We were more concerned about how we can transform the core process of the company in order to drive in this. And we see our plan as a toolbox. That could be a little bit different, but we see, if you want to change, here is your toolbox. You have here resources, you have KPIs, you have tools, you have knowledge, you have IT in order to change the processes. And because we have not a clear idea about how to put KPIs at the regeneration definition that these guys said to us that we need to become in order to be a part of the movement.
I just want to come back, because I know that for you, when we started working together and looking at principles of regeneration, the word that you kept saying to me was context. I want to do everything in terms of context. Do you want to just talk about what that means for you in terms of the compass that we're, because I can see some of the questions in there in the chat are questioning, and I just want to make sure that we cover that off nicely.
One of our challenges was how to transform a corporate culture-driven sustainability plan, more about how the family-owned is thinking about the long term, the cultural attribute that we have at the corporate, how we can translate these attributes into the local projects. If we have not, it was the challenge. And in order to translate it into a real practical things to the project directors, the context was the solution as a narrative. Say, okay, this project has high walls, and if you see infrastructure projects, all they have very high walls around, because nobody wants to see what is inside. Something is a secret. What happened with that? You need to connect, because this cooperative view gives you the opportunity. Don't see the community as an enemy that they will be complaining all the time. If you give the opportunity to talk about how they can maximize the opportunity, or the maximize the value of those projects. It was the hook in order to get the project directors with us. What kind of connection you have with the context? Because you can see that most of the infrastructure projects are undervalued. Imagine that you have a road, okay? Can we produce energy with the road? If you see what is the opportunity with the context, you will see that you can put solar panels in the middle. If you connect the road with the farmers, you can get the water that you are collecting in the highway in order to irrigate farmer fields. 1 kilometer irrigates 1 acre. It's amazing. But if you don't see what is the context and you can connect this, you are losing value that this kind of infrastructure can deliver. And value could be money also.
And that's what some of the playbook is, right? Is this idea of how do you look at context? And in my experience, at least, when you start opening up, so instead of saying, what should this bridge look like? Should it be circular? Should it whatever? But you start looking at the local context and the community, you get a whole different answer, and actually many more interesting answers. And that's what we saw with the groups we've been working with within Acciona, is how can they learn to use those lenses over and over again? It's that thing of collaboration. And you said the community shouldn't be your enemy, but collaboration over competition, because it won't work otherwise. And there's a whole different type of collaboration that needs to happen. And on that note, it's 1 minute to, and I've sworn to Alex we would hold on time. So I'm going to hold on time. Thank you, José Luis.
Bye.
Bye.